And we took our scriptures from 2 Corinthians 9:10-11. To preface this, 2 Corinthians 9:10-11 was saying that God is so faithful that he gives bread to the eaters and gives seeds to the sower. While the bread eaters eat their bread, the seed sower sow the seed, and God gives power for the seed to multiply, grow, and increase. And we did say that for every seed, it multiplies in geometric order. So we told ourselves that as family of this platform, we must come to realize that at any particular time, nobody has any cause or any reason to say, I don't have, I can't do business, I can't do this. Because are you eating? Yes, you are eating. Are you surviving? You are surviving. On what are you surviving? On that, whatever you are surviving on, it contains both the bread and the seed. So just like Adam, it depends on the name you give to it. What he will give to A, and A takes it as bread and eats it on. Same thing he will give to B, and B makes seed out of it. And when he plants the seed, the seed germinates. We also said last week that we live with the fallacy of saying that money does not grow in trees. But we have started reawakening ourselves to the fact that money actually grows on trees. These are trees that are planted by the seed that God gave you. So we call them the money trees. So we are saying that for us to gain a financial freedom in life, the two things God gives to us, it depends on how we use them. We said the bread. We define the bread as our source of our income. It could be your job, it could be your employment, it could be your career, it could be your profession. You say your bread, that is the money you are paid for your time, for your skill, for your talent, for your services. For bread, you must always show up. In other words, for you to earn that bread, for God to give you that bread, you must always be there. You must be available. And we say, and you must be there on time. A given time, that is, you have to be available. And we say your physical availability is a qualification for bread. In other words, you have to be physically available and make your time available, because the bread is actually what we call, we clock in and out. We go into that to earn that bread, to earn that job, to earn that income. It's in and out. We sign in and we sign out. It's time-based. It is time-based. And we say that what we call the job is actually an exchange of our time, of our talent, of our resources for cash. That's the income we get. Exchange for our time, our resources. And we say automatically that when you are disabled, we don't pray for that. It could be an accident, it could be sickness, or whatever makes you that you are not able to provide time, you are not available, physically present to do that work. It stops the flow. And we say this is not the best way to look at. So we ask ourselves that, okay, if we are in one job or the other, or an income of what we call bread that God says he gives to the eater, you must ask yourself some basic questions. And what are the basic questions? What is your current age? In other words, how long can you remain on that income paying job? What will happen tomorrow if you stop that work, or there is a disability or anything that makes you not able to show up? What will happen? Another question we say we should ask ourselves is that if that work stops today, do I have enough money? Do I have any means to survive the next 3 months? Even if I have enough money, can I maintain my current lifestyle? Can I live the way I am living now when that flow stops? So that is the bread for the bread eaters. We also said seeds. We say seeds, that the same God who gives you the grace to give you bread is the same God who gives you the seed to sow. We say when you sow the seed, you grow your money tree. And when you have your money tree, you don't rely on your monthly income. You don't depend on your money income. And we say money trees are sources of passive income. So when we say God gives you the seed, it means He gives you that seed. You plant the seed, you grow your money tree, and your money tree continue to be a source of flow for your passive income. And we define our passive income as the earning that we derive from renters, and renters could be property, could be limited partnership, or any form of enterprise in which you are not directly involved or at work. It could be an investment. You make money work for you. That is what it means. This money, you earn it in your absence. It is even possible you are on holidays. You could be sleeping. Passive income flows. It's not dependent on your physical availability. So, I said this income earned regularly without working for an employer, doing a job or earning in exchange for your time. No, this income has its own different way of coming. This could be rented, this could be income in wages, it could be inflation. I say this is rented. Income is wages. In other words, the seed is what we call passive income. You can also call it renters. You know, a lot of us blame politicians, say they live on renters, the renter earners. That's the way we think. But I can tell you that one source of renters is power. When you are in power, when you are in authority, you earn renters. So we must also strive. You know, part of the seed God has given you is your wisdom, the knowledge for you to be able to enter into a government, enter into an organization where you begin to earn renters. Same bank that you and me work, same bank that to finance house that you are working, CEO, you have people there who are not earning salary, but they are earning renters. In other words, they have shares, their money is working for them. They sleep, they go on holidays, they are earning money. I was saying that with the current inflation and high cost of goods and services, what is happening now is that the value of our regular income has been completely eroded. So even if you were not thinking of it before, it is time for you to think of, you know, getting other sources of income. And we said we gave some examples of passive income ideas. You know, in other words, apart from my salary that I'm earning, and I wait for 30 days, what else can I do? Write an ebook, renters, property, services, equipment. Simple thing, I mentioned somebody buying a grinder, tomato grinder, pepper grinder, cassava milling machine. You know, all these are equipment. You lease them out, you rent them out. You have what do you call it now? You buy a set microphone and all those little things. You can rent them out to earn money. Create an online course, you know, and I jokingly said, like I am doing now, except that I'm doing my own free. I can begin to earn money on it. Affiliate marketing, those of us who are social media gurus, I know people like Joshua and Fred, they know exactly, maybe one day they will teach us on such things. Website design, fine tech, you know, Google search engine and all the rest, people, websites, you know, these are things people do to make money. And once they get it set, they start earning money from it. Real estate is another one. Online photography. I just listed some of this one. And I did say that, you know, we must know that these money trees we talk about, I say money is a seed that grows as trees, multiplies, and creates harvest of seeds, that's fruits. Money trees are based on assets and investment that are not a function of time exchange for cash, but harvest of generosity and thanksgiving. I say you don't harvest without planting seeds. Plant seeds of investment portfolios, and your money tree grows out for a guaranteed money harvest, even in your sleep or idle time. I say money trees reproduce themselves in geometric format, while income is arithmetic. I said the best your employer can give you 10%, 5%, 20%, 30%. If he gives you 50% increase, oh, wow. But when you have this passive income, it multiplies in a geometric proportion. And I did say that if we don't learn anything from that last lesson, we should learn something about assets and liabilities. And I did say assets are anything that puts money into your pocket, As usually it reproduces itself in multiple foods. Is valuable and helps resolve debts, commitments, or legacy. Assets are money trees. Then they say, what is liability? Liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. And liabilities takes money consistently out. They withdraw on a regular and consistent basis. For instance, your rent, your taxes, your whatever you pay, your school fees, children's health, these are things that consistently. You don't do it today and say tomorrow you will not do it. It's a consistent thing. They keep putting holes on your pocket. So I think that was basically where we stopped for last week. So we will continue. Like I said, the way I have structured out this money trees is that it might take us 3 weeks. But let's see how it goes. Depend on how I go today. So money trees. Money trees. I said, why don't we plant these money trees? Why don't we plant these money trees? In other words, if God has told us in that 1 Corinthians we read 9:11-12, that he gives seed to the sower and bread to the eater, the question is, how come Buchi is not planting trees? How come Jonah is not planting these seeds? How come Ekene, as it were, is not having these trees all over the places? Why? I'll give some few reasons. I think the approach destruction is by you, Joseph. Everybody is still connected. I say, why we don't plant these trees? Or let me put it this way: the things. Let us still know one or two things. Let's one or two things before I come to why we don't plant it. Things we should know about these money trees. Number one, you must know that money or money tree grows out of our comfort zone. Eliminate the things you enjoy to extract your seeds for your plantation. Reduce expenses on pleasurable things. And what do I mean by money trees grows out of our comfort zone? In other words, if you want, if you must come to the knowledge that your money trees grows not in your comfort zone. And in life generally, most of us wants to live in our comfort zone. Comfort zone is easy. At the end of the 30 days I will end that salary. I am okay where I am now. We don't want to stretch. We don't want to go out of our comfort zone. You can just imagine a farmer. A farmer will wake up early in the morning and leave his house. His house is his bed, is his comfort zone. But he will leave that house and go into the field, come rain, come sun, to go and clear the grass, till the ground, and put the seed. See, that involves a lot of labor. That involves a lot of hard work. That involves him, going out of his comfort zone. So, one of the things we must know about money trees is that money trees grow out of our comfort zone. So, if we want to, if you decide today now that you need to have a money tree, know that you are going out of your comfort zone. Number two, seeds grow out of discomfort. Your seeds grow out of discomfort. In other words, you have seed in your hand. That seed can only grow out of discomfort. It's not out of comfort. That is why the Bible will say that except a corn of wheat falls to the ground and die, it will not yield increase. I don't want to go read too many scriptures, but I think sometimes to press this point home, we just need to listen to it. So, and I will quickly look at the book of John 12. 2 verses I will read. It says, verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat falls into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bring forth much fruit. He that loveth his life shall lose it, and he that hated his life in this world shall keep it unto eternal life. If any man serve me, let him follow me, and where I am, there also shall he be. Also my servant be. If any man serve me, him, blah, blah, blah. But the key thing I want you to know there is that, is that verse 24. He said, verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat falls into the ground and die, it abideth alone. In other words, when you keep that your corn, that your seed, and you want it to be alive, you don't want it you want to preserve it. What you are doing is that you are not planting your money tree. Your money tree plants out of discomfort. It has to fall into the seed and die. You know, the farmer goes to the farm. He takes the seed of corn and put it on the ground. He dies temporarily, just like Jesus died 3 days and rose. That corn will die, but it will sprout after 4 or 5 days. That's the way it is. So for us to plant money seed, we must know that it is that discomfort. It has to first of all die. That is what we are saying here. And I say something here. I say, what sacrifice? Because if we say seed grows out of discomfort, that's the point. Seed grow out of discomfort. So what sacrifice are you willing to make to plant your money tree? The level of sacrifice defines the size of your money plantation. In other words, you must be prepared to pay a price to win the prize. You must be prepared to sacrifice so that you can plant that seed and your money tree will grow. It is your money tree that will grow and multiply. The last thing I want us to know about this money tree is, you know, if the Bible tells us that God gives us bread to eat and seed to sow, you know, somebody will say, okay, I can learn to be prudent. I can learn to be cutting my costs. If I learn to be cutting my costs, because we will go into tree planting now, you see why this point is very key. I say cutting our costs or expenses, fine. Some people can take it as an option. But I say you can plant seeds by cutting costs, but there is a limit to what cuts you can make based on the basic necessities of human want. In other words, as you are in life now, welcome Pamela. It's been a long while. Now Pamela, you have 2 kids. You say you want to plant your money tree by cutting your costs. The question will be, how much of cost can you cut? I'll give you, for instance, you have 2 kids. They will have to eat. When they wake up, they won't listen whether mama get money, papa not get money. They will cry for food. So can you cut the food you will give to them? The answer is no. You live in a flat, you will pay rent. Will you say you want to cut, and at the end of the day, the landlords come, you are not giving him money? So the basic necessities of life, I'm going somewhere, so just follow me. You have the basic necessities of life, which is like the bread that we are eating. So you will want to pay rent, want to do this. So you can plant seed, not necessarily, yes, cutting costs can be a way out, but I am telling you that there are some of those costs that you cannot cut. In other words, there is a limit to what you can do to cutting costs. I say, so cutting costs or our expenses, you can plant seeds by cutting costs, fair enough, but there is a limit to what cuts you can make based on the basic necessities of human want. Accommodation, food, education, health and logistics, your transportation, light, water, taxes and levies. I say, instead of cutting costs, what you do to plant trees is smart budgeting. Let somebody write it down. We will come to talk about smart budgeting. So what you do basically is to do what I call smart budgeting. And in summary, I say smart budgeting is required to separate needs from wants, assets from liabilities. But remember, you have to pay your rent, you have to pay your bills, and you have to pay all the things you need to pay. But you need to do smart budgeting. If you say you want to cut, there are things you can cut, there are things you cannot cut. But what I advise everybody is do smart budgeting. I will come to that. So now I come to the main teaching for today. Why don't I plant trees? Pastor Femi, why are you not planting money trees? Why are you not planting money trees? Don't tell me yes because you have no money or you don't have seed. No. If you sit down January 1st, 2024 to June 30, 2024, if you calculate the money that has moved through your fingers, through your hand, you will be shocked at that amount. So why would you consume all that money and not take a portion of it and plant as a seed? So why don't we plant trees? Number one, the major reason why we don't plant trees, waiting for God for what we should do ourselves. Who agrees with me? Who agrees with me? We wait for God.
You are right,
to plant those trees.
You are very correct.
We wait for God to plant trees. Why it is we that should plant the trees. What God has done for you is to give you seed and give you bread. And in fact, he will just give you. It is you that will call it a name. When he created, when he made creation, he said, Adam, call it a name. Whatever name you call it, I agree with you. So he will just put that thing. A good Samaritan will come and put that money in your hand. It is for you to say it is bread or it is seed. So even when that seed is in our hand, we are waiting for God. In fact, to be very sure, some of us will go fasting and praying, but fasting doesn't plant tree. Praying doesn't don't plant tree. Remember, I said trees grow out of our comfort zone, and it's also grow from a place of sacrifice. That's why I'm taking it step by step so that I want everybody to follow me. My target, guys, at the end of this, maybe this money trees, we are going to do a workshop on it. So, because this is not, it's not just going to be grammar, but at the end of the day, we will do a workshop on it. We will give some percentages, we'll do some workbook kind of, so that everybody will have a working formula. But that's by the way. We wait for God for what we should do ourselves. And I call this what I say crisis of financial identity. That is, we have a crisis of identity, financial identity. What is the financial identity crisis? We don't know the difference between seed and bread. God has given us, to go back and read that your 2 Corinthians 9, 10 to 11. You have the seed, you have the bread, but you have an identity. Jesus Christ asked his disciples, he said, who do men say I am? Jesus, I have been with you for how many years? The world say I am Jonathan, I am Elijah, I am Jesse, I am the prophet Moses. Who do you yourself? So what is my identity? So we also need to ask ourselves that we have to resolve that issue of identity. Identity, financial identity, to identify what is seed and what is bread, so that we don't wait for God. So if any time in our life we can identify seed that come into our life and bread that come into our life, then we will not be waiting for God, because many of us are still praying. My bishop would say irresponsible prayer, because we are praying for God to do what he has already done for us, or what he has empowered us to do, is what we are still praying. He calls it irresponsible prayer, but I call it financial identity. So we must stop waiting for God so that we can start planting trees by identifying what is a seed and what is a bread. I say number 2, why we are not planting trees, manna. It is not the first time that man is going through that process. The Israelites also went through that process, and when they were crying, what God did was to give them manna. And manna actually has what we call a Hebrew translation. And the real meaning of manna is, what is this? So just like Jesus asked them, who am I? So manna means, what is this? What is this? It's for you to be able to identify. It is for you to call it. So anything in your hand, what is it? So I say God doesn't give money. He gives ideas. I put in brackets, seeds, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, opportunity. I come again, manna. I say manna in Hebrew translation means, what is this? So what do you call it? God doesn't give you money. So some of us are probably waiting for money. But what is this seed? It is ideas, it is opportunity, it is wisdom, it is knowledge, it is understanding, it is creativity. Anything you can call it that comes from God. And God does this for a purpose, because He wants you to live the law of seed time and harvest time. Seed time and harvest time. What is this law of seed time and harvest time? Funny enough, I'll be reading a lot of scriptures today. Genesis, from the beginning. Genesis 8. Genesis 8, verse 22. I will read it in 3 different versions. He said, as long as earth exists, there will always be seasons of planting and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night. In fact, after this verse, the entire verse, chapter 8, 28 ended. The law of seed time and harvest time. Let me read the King James version of the same scripture. He said, while the earth remaineth, in other words, as long as you are alive, as long as I am on this earth, as long as God remains God, seed time and harvest time, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night shall never cease. In other words, you must always plant, and as you plant, you will harvest. Manna, what is this? It is a seed. It is my harvest time. It is my planting time. Let me read that scripture one more in another version, so that the law of sowing and reaping. Sowing and reaping. You see, as long as the earth remains, there will be planting and harvest. So, in other words, as long as you plant, your monetary harvest will come. That as long as you are alive, this world is in existence, there will be harvest time. And so, I'm giving you reasons why we are not planting. Number one, I said we are waiting for God to do what God has told us to do, or what He has done for us, because we have financial identity crisis. We don't differentiate. God has given us both, but we cannot identify them. We don't know what is a seed and we don't know what is bread. The second reason why we don't plant is that, I say, we wait for manna. What is manna? Manna in Hebrew says, what is this? And in other words, what do you call it? I say, God does not give you money, but we are waiting for money. You are waiting for manna to come from Him. He gives you idea, and that idea is what we call a seed. It's an opportunity, it's wisdom, it's knowledge, it's understanding, it's creativity. It is even a contact, relationship, social currency. You know some people because they are in a position to give you seed to plant, or to plant a seed in your life, but we don't value them. Number three, why we don't plant? Unfaithfulness. We are unfaithful with the seed. The seeds that come our way, we are unfaithful with it. So it's a big problem, big problem. And see scripturally why. Luke 16, 10 to 12. He said, if you are faithful in little things, you will be faithful in large ones. But if you are dishonest in little things, you won't be honest with greater responsibility. 11 says, and if you are untrustworthy about worldly wealth, who will trust you with the riches of heaven? And if you are not faithful with other people's things, why should you be trusted with little things of your own? You know, if you take this in this verse 10, in the beginning, say, if you are faithful in little things, you know, the seed is very tiny. He gives you that seed. You think it is 10 naira, you think it's 100 naira, you think it's only 500 naira. It is tiny in your eye. You are not faithful with it. Help me, God. You are not faithful with that little thing because you think it is more. Another version of the Bible says, it says, do not neglect your little beginning. In other words, do not neglect that seed that is in your hand. But we don't plant trees because we are not faithful with those seeds. We are not faithful with those seeds. Number four, which is the last reason why we are not planting trees. Spirit of ownership. Spirit of ownership. What is ownership? We don't know that we are not the owners. Go back to that 2 Corinthians 9, 10, 11 to 12. He said, God gives seed. It is God who gives. So you are not the owner. It's God who gives. God is the source. You are only a servant. You are only a servant. So we have the wrong spirit of ownership. Ownership mentality. It's my own. I may get that. You are not the owner. God is the source. How many of us we read this scripture so many times, so many often? Matthew 25. I will quickly rush through it. You know, it's a parable of the talent. It's a parable of the talent. You will learn so many things. Maybe it is a topic on its own, but I will just summarize it today. Matthew 25. I'll pick it from verse 14. You see, the parable of the three servants. 14. Say again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. God, that's what he's doing. Now, God called you on a long trip and he keeps giving you seed on a daily basis. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities. Let somebody just put that ability or capability. That is, he gave, we summarize by saying 5 talents to one, 2 talents to another, then 1 talent to another. And each one, the Bible says he gave in proportion to their abilities, in proportion to their capacity, in proportion to their talent, in proportion to their knowledge, in proportion to how they appreciate, how they understand, to what level of knowledge of the law of seed and harvest that they know. I will come to talk about maybe before the end of today or maybe by the closing class. So, 16. The servant who received 5 bags of silver began to invest, see it, the money and earned 5 more. This one saw 5. This is seed now. I will plant the seed. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. 19. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they had used his money. 20. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 5 more. 21. The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant. My good and faithful servant. Remember the point number 3, we talked about faithfulness and unfaithfulness. This one was a faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount. So now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. You know, we sing, we say, the poor getting poorer and the rich getting richer. What a word. You know, Jimmy Cliff. It's so even in the Bible. To him who he gave 5, he added 5 to it. And he said, I will give you more. 22. The servant who had received 2 bags of silver came forward and said, Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 2 more. The master said, well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. 24. The servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, Master, I knew you were a harsh man. Can you imagine? Harvesting crops you did not plant and gathering crops you did not cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here is your money. But the master replied, you wicked and lazy servant, if you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it. See. Then he ordered, take the money from this servant and give it to the one with 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even with the little they have, will be taken away from them. I don't know what to say. I just want to add. So that's, I've given you 4 reasons. The last one I would just want to add is what this other one now, fear. The one with 1 talent, he said, I was afraid, because most of us were afraid to invest. We are afraid to sow seed. We will say, let me, like the foolish man, he will say, let me keep this one, or let me even eat it, make I know say I eat them. If he go plant and I no go germinate, that kind of mentality. So these are 4, 5 clear reasons why we don't invest, why we don't sow seed, why we don't plant our trees. Okay, we are good on time today. Let me see. I did talk about when I was saying certain things we should know about money trees, and I did talk about cutting costs, and I said cutting costs will not help us, but what will help us is smart budget. So let me talk on smart budget, and if I can finish that one, then for today we can rest there. Then on Sunday when we meet again, by the grace of God, we'll be talking of how to grow money trees. So we'll go into the replanting and how to go into the farm and plant those money trees. Smart budgeting. I was saying that a lot of us will say law of economics, our needs, our wants, our income, and our expenses. So let me cut some cost. But I've said, and I've mentioned to you this evening, there are some costs you cannot cut. I don't know how many of us will have children, and the children wake up in the morning and we say we will not buy food for those children, we will cut costs. But we will learn something about smart budgeting. Smart budgeting. So it's a subheading now. Smart budgeting. I say in smart budgeting, we use smart thinking. Smart budgeting, we use smart thinking to do our budget. Smart thinking involves using less resources to accomplish more in budget outcomes. Smart thinking. We say in smart budgeting, we use smart thinking to do our budgeting. And what is smart thinking? As a smart thinking, SMART, and those of us who have been following us, we've talked about smart, so that's we are going to apply the principle here. As a smart thinking involves less resources to accomplish more in budget outcomes. In other words, you want to get a good result of your budget, you can use smart thinking to as it were get more from less. Use less resources to accomplish more results, more outcome. We take time to think smart. In other words, when you are budgeting, what you do is you take time out to think smart. And what is that smart? Remember, we say S is for specific, M is for measurable, A is for achievable, R is for relevant, and T is time bound. So we think smart in the sense that we think specific, we think measurable, we think achievable, we think relevant, and we think time-bound results to optimize our limited resources. Smart thinking or smart budgeting means taking control of our finances instead of our finances controlling us. Boom. Smart thinking or smart budgeting means taking control of your finances instead of your finances taking control of us. How do we do a smart budgeting, or how can we be in control of our finances of vice versa? Number one, you must know that you are independent if you are in control of your finances. In other words, your money is not the one controlling you. You are in control of your finances. You can say I'm financially independent. Note also, number two, to be in control of your finances, in other words, to say I'm financially independent means you are faithful and consistent with your money flow. I come again. We say smart budgeting means thinking smart and applying the principle of smart into how we budget to optimize our limited resources. And we say that this smart thinking simply means that we take control of our finances, not our finances taking control of us. A lot of us, we have given up to inflation. We have given up to the situation in the country. If the money come, boom, we won't sit down, calculate, plan. But we say, anywhere where the money reach, make it reach. As you just earn the money, you go and withdraw. Go to the market, buy this. No planning, no control, no this one now. Your money is controlling you. But if you are in control of your money, you will do smart budgeting. And smart means you are specific. In other words, what are the specific things I need for this month? How can I measure them? In what quantity? In what sizes should I buy them? Are this budgeting, is it achievable? Can I based on the money I have and for that I want to stretch within the 30 days of this month? Is it possible? Can I buy those things? Can I meet up? Are they very relevant? Are they needs? Or things that I just wish? Are they urgent or they are not urgent? Are they necessities? Are they things I must do within this 1 month? So I've just talked about being specific, being measurable, being achievable, being relevant, and being time bound. Because your budgeting can either be on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. So it is also time bound. So when you are thinking smart, you want to be financially independent. In other words, you are in control of your finances. 2, you are in control of your finances. That is, you are independent means you are faithful and consistent with your money flows. In other words, you know how much you earn and you know what you spend the money on. That's what we call your money flow. Your money flow is in and out. Your money flow income, what do you earn? Your money outflow, what do you spend it on now? You know them. You are consistent, you are faithful, and you stick to it. That's when you say you are financially smart, or you are thinking smart, or you are applying smart budgeting. Independence is not independence from God. That when we say you are financially independent, it does not mean that you are independent from God. You are still dependent on God. Remember our text for this in this scripture, 2 Corinthians 9:10-11. It is God who gives you both the seed and the sower. And remember, we just said He is also our source. We are not the source. We are only servants, and it's only expected of us to be faithful. That is all. Faithful, consistent with what He has given to you. I say you are still dependent on God. You are still dependent on God. So when you say you are financially dependent, does not mean that you are financially not dependent on God. You are still dependent on God because God is your source. God is your source. You don't ever get to a point where you say, "Na money, That's why the Deuteronomy say, may you never get to a point you eat and drink. Deuteronomy 8:18. He said that you think that you will forget your God. No, never. I'll quickly just read one scripture. Isaiah 41, verse 13. He said, this is God saying, for I hold you by your right hand, I the Lord your God, and I say to you, don't be afraid, I am here to help you. God is always there to help you, so you are not independent of God. He is there to help you. You obey financial principles you have set for yourself. When we say you are thinking smart, and it means you obey financial principles you have set for yourself, those must. Let me read another scripture to show how the Bible describes us, so that I am not the one who will pronounce the word, but we need to be very careful, because when we think we are wise, we are actually not wise. Proverbs 21:17. 21. He said, those who love pleasure become poor. Those who love wine and luxury will never be rich.